Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg, Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia, and essayist and commentator Eric Levine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're in the studio right now, live. We have myself, John Katzmatidis, and we have Jake Novak, and we have Ed Cox, and New York State Chairman. And, well, he heard his name. We have Judge Weinberg. He came all the way in. I've never, ever seen Judge Weinberg at 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. 7 is the earliest.
Well, you know, it's...
And Eric Levine, our noted co-host on Let the Record Show, which has been bumped because of breaking news, is going to be on with us in a couple of minutes.
It only gets bumped for breaking news or bad rating.
Well, our ratings are terrific, so it's not a problem.
Okay.
That'll never happen.
And so many things are happening, and Jake, you did a great job between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And in the newsroom, we also have what? Is Flippin there?
Yeah, James Flippin is there.
James Flippin. Don't worry. I mean, say whatever you want to get off your chest. Make sure Flippin says it.
Sounds good, John.
All right, good. In the control booth, we have who? Elias.
Yeah. Elias is there. Bill and Tony are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got a full house on a Sunday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And tell me, Jake, you've been reporting the news since from 5 to 6. And what the heck is going on? I mean, Iran hit Cyprus. Let me call the Greeks. They'll start picketing Iran.
It's amazing how much has broken just overnight. A lot of you may have gone to sleep last night thinking, boy, a lot's happening, but it'll be quiet overnight. It wasn't. I think that the biggest piece of breaking news is President Trump has issued a brand new warning to Iran, telling them that they're going to get hit like they've never been hit before. But I also think, John and everyone, two other pieces of news in addition to...
By the way, I'm going to interrupt you. You know why? Everybody has learned that whatever Trump says, he means.
He does.
I mean, if he says he's going to kick their butt, he means it.
Well, I hope that this would end this Democrat talking point, this liberal talking point, this whole taco thing that Trump always backs out, Trump always chickens out. I hope that this will end that ridiculous narrative. Because
no, now he's a warmonger.
Yeah, they'll say that
now
instead.
He's a warmonger.
That's right, Judge.
Now, I'm going to tell you something.
Even that, he's a warmonger controlled by the Jews. Mm-hmm. That's also, but they're doing this at Israel's bidding. That's also an anti-Semitic trope that's going out from Democratic precincts.
Well, we're not here to talk anti-Semitic, but it is the fact that, the Democrats used to be the most Semitic of all. I remember there was, I'm putting in my 2 cents now. I've been seeing senators, congressmen for 40 years. There was never, 20 years ago, there was never a congressman or a senator, Democratic or whatever, that didn't come in without his chief assistant coming in with him or her that wasn't Jewish from AIPAC. You guys failed. What happened? Eric Levine, you are the one that's out there working your tail off because you have been gathering together senators and congressmen or whatever. What happened to AIPAC? Why did they fail?
Well, it's not so much that AIPAC failed; it's that the Democratic Party, as we know it, has died.
But the Jews would have never allowed that 20 years ago.
Eric's right. The radical socialists took over the party. They're anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
Yeah, but allowed it to happen. I remember when the Jews were tougher.
Wait, will you let Eric respond to this?
I'm going to let Eric respond.
This notion that the Jews have all the secret power, I'm going to raise at the next Elders of Zion meeting as to what happened. This myth, we're just Americans trying to exercise our First Amendment rights and petition our elected officials to advance causes that we believe in. The problem here is that the Democratic Party, as we know it, has died. And that's because you have feckless, morally bankrupt, cowardly leadership like Chuck Schumer, who has been taken over by the Democratic Socialists of America. I mean, it's like saying New York City, you failed. You elected a communist Jew hater as mayor. Well, that's because the DSA now owns the Democratic Party. I mean, I was watching some of the news coverage yesterday. Seth Moulton, who's supposedly one of the quote-unquote moderate Democrats, congressman from Massachusetts, about a month ago, he announced that he was not going to take any AIPAC money. And then I'm watching him on the show, as with Wolf Blitzer, and he makes the comment that Donald Trump, this is an illegal war because we haven't gone to Congress and gotten a declaration of war. I mean, that's nonsense. But then he goes on to say he's doing this because he's controlled by Bibi Netanyahu. This meme that Jews have the special power or that they're controlling the powers of government is real. It is one of the classic tropes of anti-Semitism, and it has seeped so deeply into the Democratic Party that supposed moderates can say these things as if they're true, and that they're just generally accepted. The problem is that anti-Semitism, being anti-Israel, or as they say, anti-Zionist, but it's really just being anti-Semitic, it is now a core value of the Democratic Party. You cannot advance to the highest levels in the Democratic Party unless you are anti-Israel, unless you show some sort of anti-Semitism. And that's really part of the problem. That's really the response to your question, John.
Well, I'm going to go one step. I'm going to go one step further. I still have some Jewish friends. One of them, his name is Jason, and I won't tell you his last name. That he used to work for us, Judge. You might remember him, that hates Trump, hates everything Trump is doing, loves the Democratic Party, loves it. I said, look what they did to my friend. And Jerry Nadler's been my friend for 45 years. He has changed a lot. He has changed a lot.
Not for the better.
Not for the better. He has changed a lot. Now, let me finish. I said to Jerry, Jerry, I love you. He asked me for a contribution. I love you, but you've been crazy. The Democratic Party used Jerry Nadler in Manhattan, and Ed Cox is GOP chairman here. The Democratic Party used Jerry Nadler in Manhattan to get rid of my longtime friend of 40 years too, Carolyn Maloney. And they used him. And Carolyn Maloney went off into the darkness. But, her daughter won. Virginia, her daughter won for city council, which is good news. And then, what did they do? Jerry Nadler, that got rid of Carolyn Maloney, the Irish girl. Now the Democrats get rid of Jerry Nadler because he's Jewish, I think.
Are there any Italians left?
Are there any Italians left? I don't know.
On Staten Island.
On Staten Island.
Yeah, but they vote Republican.
Yeah, they do.
Well, no, who's Italian in Staten Island? I mean,
do you remember the old days?
It's a Democrat.
Yeah,
John, do you remember the old days?
Democrat?
Yeah, there's a Democrat from Staten Island who was complaining about the snow removal this week. But just to push back.
So was Vito Fossella.
Yeah. Well, that's because he didn't have two IDs. That was the problem.
But, just to push back on this meme that you're all talking about.
We've got to know what we have to, look, Sunday morning, we're getting it off our chest. what the heck is going on? Why don't the common sense Democrats, you, Judge, and you, Eric Levine, you have the testicles to do that.
Wait a second. He's a Republican. He's a card-carrying Republican.
Then I got the Judge. I was a Democrat.
The Democrat is delusional.
I was a Democrat. I was a Bill Clinton Democrat. But Bill Clinton was a great guy. I mean, And we're going to talk about that later on, how President Trump
Bill Clinton was pro-Israel, and that's why he's have the outs on the party, because he supports Israel. That's why they hate him.
Well, so does Hillary Clinton.
Right. Well, Hillary, who I'm no fan of, I have to say on the Israel issue, has really been quite good. But that's all of a sudden also why the Democrats have turned on her. It's nothing to do with the Epstein stuff. This all started to turn because Clinton was originally very pro.
By the way, let's finish talking about the Jews and the Democratic Party, and then we're going to talk about what happened with Epstein and the stupidity of calling up President Clinton and whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jewish support for the Democrat Party has a lot to do with the fact that throughout history, Jews have often perceived the more nationalistic party or group in a nation as being hostile to them. That's not true, by the way, and it's an incorrect assumption. There was a guy named Napoleon who emancipated almost every Jew in Europe, who was the most nationalistic guy probably in history. So that's one of those things that they don't teach you in yeshiva, and I am a yeshiva graduate, so I can tell you, luckily I had my own education outside of that. So that's important to remember. President Trump and the Republican Party, but President Trump in particular, is the greatest friend to the Jews since Cyrus the Great. Netanyahu mentions that all the time. Cyrus the Great was the one who allowed the Jews to return to Israel over 2,000 years ago. And this is
a Persian king.
A Persian king. That's right. That's why I mentioned him. So that's indisputable, John. Just indisputable.
Well, that's good. Does that mean the current Jews in the Democratic Party better get the heck out?
It's meant that for a long time.
Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, get the heck out.
Josh Shapiro is the victim of the most overtly politically anti-Semitic act in American history. He was not chosen for the running mate for Kamala Harris, which was a no-brainer, simply because he was a Jew. The fact that he remains in the party, he should be ashamed of.
Are you Jewish too?
I'm a very traditional Jew, yes.
Holy cow. I mean, we got one WASP, we had N. Cox,
that's right. 2
Jews,
that's right,
and 1 Greek here.
That's right.
And 1 Jew on the telephone. What's flipping?
Can we get a Presbyterian? Anybody? How about a Methodist?
Well, he's Presbyterian.
No, I'm Anglican.
And Cox.
St. Bartholomew.
True wasp. God bless him.
And he's Zoroastrians in the room. But no,
what do we have in the control booth?
That's a good question.
I'm not sure about them, but I can tell you that I'm a Christian, so I'm a Protestant. I'm going to hold it down for that wing.
All right. Okay. All right. So we got a pretty good diversification. Usually Patterson is here, and Patterson had some surgery, but he's 100% okay. Oh. Otherwise, Patterson would have had the black community here too.
But isn't David is Catholic?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. We had a Catholic.
Proving some of our best friends are Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, we had certainly, again, to push back on this meme that it was Israel or the Jews who forced this. Again, I want everyone to pay attention to this breaking news overnight. The Washington Post reporting that it was Mohammed bin Salman, the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, who pushed the hardest for this attack on Iran, calling Trump several times over the last month. Obviously, Saudi Arabia and Iran don't like each other, but the official word was they want diplomacy. But that's not what bin Salman was urging President Trump on the phone.
Well, let's also remember this, to this, continuing on this topic of the meme. In 1979, when they took over the government, the first thing they did was take American hostages for 444 days. That has nothing to do with Israel. They blew up 241 Marines in 1983 in the Marine barracks in Beirut. That had nothing to do with Israel. They blew up over 20 service members in Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia in the late 80s. Nothing to do with Israel. They attacked the coal. Nothing to do with Israel. They're responsible for 1/3 of the dead and wounded in Afghanistan and Iraq. Nothing to do with Israel. So this garbage that Israel is the driving force behind this is nonsense. We have this ass backwards that we're fighting Israel's war. Israel is fighting our war. Israel has been at the tip of the spear of defending Western civilization and the American-led world order since October 7th. IDF forces have been dying for the United States. This is backwards, this trope. And finally, since the Iranians have been at war with us since 1979, rather than begging and scraping and appeasing this Nazi regime, we are finally fighting back. That's what this is. Donald Trump is defending Western civilization and the American-led world order, and he has our closest ally in the world side by side with us. That is what is going on. And if Israel is such a ogre, let's remember that 3 days before this war, Prime Minister Modi of India was in Israel, knowing full well that a war was about to happen. Greece, Cyprus, and Israel have created a very geostrategic relationship in the Eastern Mediterranean. Israel has recognized Somaliland in the Horn of Africa. So what you are seeing is a huge geopolitical shift in the world, where Israel is going to be at the center of it, India is going to be at the eastern front of it, Greece and Cyprus are going to be at the western section of it, Somaliland is going to be in the southern tip, and who would you rather have controlling the Eastern Mediterranean and the entrance to the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean? Israel, India, Greece, and Cyprus, or Iran, Russia, and China? And so when you start,
I'd rather have Saudi Arabia, Greece, and Cyprus, and Saudi Arabia is on our side, and we work well together. It is good to have Saudi Arabia and Israel. The crap about anti-Semitism in the Muslim community, let's turn it into crap.
And by the way, don't forget Egypt, a major power there that just hasn't gotten into it yet.
Well, I think what Iran just did is it's turning the Abraham Accords into the Abraham Alliance. Because look who Iran attacked besides U.S. interests and Israel. Attacked fellow Muslim countries. So when people like Mandami say this is an attack against Muslims, that's the most ridiculous thing. Who's blowing up the airports all across the Middle East in the Sunni Arab countries but Iran? Now, if they think that's good military tactics or good politics, that's beyond me.
Folks, you're listening to a live special edition of the Cats Roundtable here. This is live, and this is a special edition. You usually hear this later in the morning. And, John, another big story over the week was these hearings in Chappaqua, over the Epstein files, both Hillary and Bill Clinton.
My hometown.
Yeah, and your neighbor. Yeah, and your neighbor.
And by the way, I'm your other neighbor.
Oh, we were here first.
Yeah, but he has a bigger house, Eric.
Listen, if Chappaqua, on a per square foot basis, I got 87 acres in Chappaqua. If Chappaqua on a per square foot basis was voting for mayor, I'd be the mayor.
Eric, we should run him.
But these hearings, first of all,
just announced the campaign.
But these hearings were close to the news media. We didn't get a live feed of these hearings. We got transcripts. We heard certain reports from there. But I wonder, do people really think these hearings were a waste of time? Was it an embarrassment? Did anyone think we were going to learn anything from any of these things?
I didn't think we were going to learn anything.
Yeah. From your legal position, Judge Weinberg?
No. I honestly didn't think we were going to learn anything because I didn't expect them to be good witnesses. They responded by saying, I don't remember, or I didn't see anything. So what are you going to get out of that? And that was to be anticipated as their testimony.
Ed Cox,
so tell me, one prosecution that has come out of all this. Just one.
Exactly right.
Yeah, there's been a graveyard of people who have lost their reputations, people like Bill Gates. Larry Summers, by the way, in the middle of last week, stepping down as a university professor, which, by the way, if you know academia, that's a lot better than being a president of a university. To be a university professor at Harvard University and to completely step down, incredible loss of his reputation. But you're right, I haven't seen a prosecution.
Yeah, and it has gummed up the Southern District, gummed up the Justice Department, and making sure every one of these transcripts, these millions of pages that have come out, that they are properly redacted in a way that protects.
And by the way,
people.
You saw nothing about this during the Biden years controlling the Justice Department and the FBI, and the Democrats thought they were going to get Trump on this. It turned out that most of the bodies that are being carried out are Democratic bodies.
Yeah. Eric Levine, you're saying, though, as you said earlier here on this special edition of the Cats Roundtable here on WABC Talk Radio, you were saying that it wasn't really the Epstein thing that took down Bill Clinton. It was the fact that not only is he supportive of Israel, but remember, it's Bill Clinton who goes around the country and for years has been saying, I offered everything to Arafat and he walked away. That's, you're saying that's why they hate him, because he basically says, hey, I offered everything and they didn't one piece. Right, Eric?
That's why, I agree with that. I think that's why the veneer or the support for Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton has eroded all of a sudden, and they just use the Epstein. That's why they're not protecting him for Epstein, because they resent the fact about his support for Israel. But it's an interesting point you make about in 2000 when he offered Arafat everything. This goes back, I think, to some of these kafia Nazis that we're seeing on our campuses and in the cities across the country, talking about, Israel is genocide, which of course is a lie. Israel's an occupying power, which of course is a lie. In 1948, the UN created two countries, Israel and an Arab state. The Jews said yes, the Arabs said no. And they attacked the Israelis, tried to destroy the country, and that's what created the refugee problem that we have today. In 2000, Clinton, as you point out correctly, basically gave Arafat everything. He gave him two states. And Arafat said no. Why? Because he refused to give up the fight to destroy the state of Israel. He wanted his own state so that eventually he could still destroy Israel and only have one state. 2008, George Bush gave Mahmoud Abbas an even better deal. And he said no. Why? Because he also didn't want to end the struggle. In 2005, Ariel Sharon withdrew every Israeli, every Jew from Gaza. Gaza was Judenrein. It was free of Jews until October 7th. But what did they do? They didn't just create their own country, which they could have, and improve the lives of the Palestinian people. Hamas created a terrorist hellhole to try to destroy the state of Israel. So this notion that it is the Israelis who have prevented a two-state solution or prevented the Palestinians from having their own state and are the reasons why all these horrible things are happening, these are all just lies. They are proven historical lies. But the trope the Democratic Party is bought into, they just keep going down this rabbit hole, no matter how false the accusations are. So we have to keep coming back to pointing out the facts. That's why it's important to point out, the dead Marines, the dead Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq. This talking about Iraq, we're now having this false narrative, that Iran, what are we going to do the day after? This is going to be like Iraq. This is nothing like Iraq. This is nothing like. First, we're not committing any troops. There are not going to be any troops on the ground. But why did the quieting of Iraq after the American invasion take so long? It happened because outside powers, like Iran in particular, did their best to try to kill Americans and make it impossible to bring peace to Iraq. That's not happening here. That is not happening here. There's not going to be this outside force to try and destabilize Iran once this regime is toppled. You have unanimity of opinion in the region, around the world, that this is a despotic, disgusting regime, and there's actually a great deal of support for what's going on. And to the extent that there were powers that might have undermined us, China and Russia, where are they?
Now
they have turned.
Let me ask you a silly
run.
question. Cyprus was a British colony, and also, Greece and Cyprus are like one country. I think they may even have the same national anthem. I'm not even sure, but I have a zillion Cypriot friends. Why did Iran attack Cyprus? Does anybody know?
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Because they have a close alliance with Israel.
Or with natural gas and
but I know Cyprus. They got a close alliance with everybody.
Yeah. Well,
Cyprus almost substituted, and if anybody knows better, let me know. Cyprus almost substituted for Beirut, which was the banking capital of the world, and they lost it because nobody had the testicles at the White House for the last 50 years or something, to do something about it. And they're friends with everybody. Why did they attack Cyprus?
Except for the Turks.
That's
a
very interesting. Raising turkey is very interesting.
Wait. We're sitting with the guy that's quasi-responsible here, Ed Cox. and it was the Nixon administration that allowed the Turks to use NATO weapons to go in there and take half of Cyprus.
I was also director of the company that found all the gas off Israel, Noble Affiliates.
Minor detail.
And that is an important part of this whole natural gas.
Leviathan natural gas find.
And two discoveries before the Leviathan.
Mm-hmm. Kissinger. You know, we talk about anti-Semitism. How about anti-Cypriotism? Anti-Cypriotism. I stand up for the Cypriots. Why was Kissinger so anti-Cypriotism?
I will not answer for Henry.
Is there anybody out there that could answer that question? You see, the Jewish community is the only one that has anti-something. Is there any other community out there that has anti-something?
You mean, like a defense league?
No. It means that historical hatred of Jews, which goes back to an age-old hatred. It's gone back hundreds, maybe thousands of years. They've always blamed the Jews. You know, you were telling a story. Why don't you tell the people a story about what happened with the assassination of the Tsar?
Well, you know, it's interesting that the Tsar was assassinated. You know, the Bolsheviks assassinated the Tsar, and there were a lot of Jews in the Bolshevik, but they were not the only group that was in the Bolshevik party and Bolshevik group. But they made sure, and this is something that historians know this, and the Soviets were always cagey about it. But the trigger man, the person who killed the Tsar and his wife and presumably the children, they deliberately chose a Jew to do that. Because why? The Bolsheviks knew if things went south, if they ended up losing the whole revolution, they could blame it on the Jews. His name was Joseph Yurovsky. I knew his great nephew, by the way. Very gentle person. But honestly, that is what they, and so people kind of say maybe this is what's happening here. The killing of Ali Khamenei, maybe you can blame it on the Israelis. But honestly, folks, this is a joint operation. There's no caginess going on. The strength of the alliance, which Ed Cox, your late father-in-law, really created during the Yom Kippur War, which, by the way, really told the Arab nations that no matter who the president was, but especially someone like Nixon or Trump, there was never going to be a wedge driven. When he resupplied the Israeli army in the Yom Kippur War, that was a wake-up call for Anwar Sadat.
That was a decision by the president himself. It was not Henry Kissinger. He had to say, whatever Golda wants, give it to her. Mm-hmm. Get it to her right away.
And that saved Israel.
To the point, though, about who killed Khamenei.
And by the way, he also kept the Soviets out of it. They said they were going to send troops when the Arabs were on the run. What did President Nixon do? He went to DEFCON 3.
All right, we got to take a break. This is a special live edition of Cats Roundtable. We're going to be coming back with Todd Shapiro, who's going to be representing Eric Adams, our former mayor. Stay with us. We are live coverage here on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg, Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia, and essayist and commentator Eric Levine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Jesse who?
Jesse Garcia, the vice chair of the state Republican Party.
Is that the guy that didn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be with us?
Mm-hmm. That's right. This is what you're really listening to is a special edition of the Cats Roundtable.
All right. Okay. Super special edition of the Cats Roundtable. And, we've had some segment here, calling in. I mean, he was listening to us, and he was angry that we didn't give Eric Adams credit for being pro-Semitism. Is that a new expression? Pro-Semitism?
I've never heard that before in my entire life.
We are pro-Semitism. Okay? I'm 6% Jewish. Don't forget. That, you know what that means? You know,
when they round us up, you'll be in the camps with us.
One of my great-grandfathers, the definition of 6% is either a great-grandfather or great-grandmother was Jewish. So I tell all my Jewish friends, one of my great-grandfathers or grandmothers got screwed by a Jew.
Very, very nice. And you're pro-Semitic, huh?
I am pro-Semitic. Okay. Todd Shapiro, you were so angry you called in because you represent Mayor Eric Adams, and tell us what you feel about it.
So first of all, the former mayor just got back from Israel 2 days ago. He was there for a week and stuff like that. And, he saw a lot of stuff. He was meeting with people in the Knesset and different Jewish leaders and people from the state of Israel. because, you know, and now as a private citizen, I think he sees things a lot different than he did before. And he's, as you always put it, Johnny, he's mad as hell. I mean, he's looking back now, and, you know, when he was mayor, listen, he did a lot of good things. He did a lot of maybe not so good things. But for the most part, he was a strong ally to the state of Israel. And he was a strong ally to Jewish people, to, you know, to all residents, Jews, Muslims. But, you know, he really was a voice for the Jewish people when the Gaza attacks took place. And I think what he's looking at now was the mayor, you know, the present mayor's statement. And when he came out was not very strong. And it didn't come across. He was attacking the president of an illegal act of war. And I think just, you know, looking at things today, I mean, I think he feels, I know he feels, that, you know, that a mayor should be solid to the people he represents.
Now, let me ask you a question. When he was mayor, you had appointments with 90% black. Now, the blacks have been taken out of the, I guess, I haven't seen that many blacks being appointed by Zoran. Is the black community upset?
Is the black people upset? I think a lot of people are upset. Listen, understand, 50% or over 50% of people didn't vote for this mayor. It was a different population. You know, it was, I think a lot of people said it before. I mean, the people that voted, and this was an Eric Adams quote, the people that voted used to only be on Social Security. The people voted this time were on social media.
Did Curtis vote for Zoran?
Look,
Go ahead. Eric Levine, get it off your chest.
I'm proud to say that I supported Eric Adams. I did fundraisers for Eric Adams. I thought he was a fine mayor, and he was and is a great friend of the Jewish people and Israel. There's no question about that.
And I liked Eric Adams a great deal, too.
Yes. Yeah, and instead we've elected a communist Jew hater. And you could just see, I mean, his recent statement about opposing Iran, look, back on Iran, he supports Iran. It is part and parcel and consistent with what we were saying at the beginning of the show. This war that is continuing, it started in 1979, but what is continuing now is on one side you have the United States and Israel, and the other side you have Iran. Evil. It's good versus evil. But Zoran Mondani, the Democratic Socialists, and people like Chuck Schumer, who are too weak to stand up to them, are siding with evil. Why? Because the two worst people on the planet, Donald Trump and the Jewish people in Israel, are on the other side.
But
and
John brings up a good point, Eric. John brings up a good point that maybe it isn't galvanizing the Jewish community in New York to try to oppose Mamdani. Maybe it's a matter of galvanizing the African-American community in New York. It's not only the fact that a lot of African-American appointees. Yeah, but don't forget also at this Bash the Landlords event that Mamdani hosted and arranged this week, residents of New York City public housing, NYCHA, were not allowed to come in there. There was one woman who courageously stormed the mic and complained about this. The city is the biggest landlord in New York City with all these housing projects, and that is a very, very large amount of the people who are living in public housing are African Americans, and they were told they're not allowed to complain about the dangers and other squalid living conditions they have to deal with.
Fact of the matter is, what they have is they have radical socialists, maybe even communists, who are running the housing positions in this new administration. And what they want to do is they want to destroy the middle class landlords so they can have more control of private property and real estate by these radical socialists, by the Democratic Socialists of America. Just read their agenda. It's all out there. They're against private property. To them, property is theft.
And imagine being someone who has a son or daughter in the U.S. military right now, and you're mayor of your city. Because there are a lot of American, you might think it's just a southern thing. It's not just a red state thing. There are a lot of active duty troops from the 5 boroughs of New York City, by the way. Imagine being a father, a mother of somebody in a forward position right now for the U.S. military, particularly in the Navy, and to have your mayor condemn them by extension because he condemned the United States yesterday. That was his response to Operation Epic Fury. Maybe he should have sat this one out.
My son was a Marine. He led a mortar platoon in Syria fighting ISIS in 2018 and 2019. And when these attacks on American service members in Syria were carried out by Iran and their proxies, my son was a target. So this is a righteous war. Zoran Mamdani hates America. He hates Jews. He hates Israel. So does the entire DSA. And that's who has taken over the Democratic Party. Yeah, if I'm a service member's parent today, they don't have to be active duty. Once a Marine, always a Marine. So this is, it really is offensive. And to the point that the other guest made about over 50% of the people didn't vote for this guy, 100% right. Zoran Mamdani doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent most of the people in the. Well,
this whole thing started with my friend that used to work with us. That's Jewish, and he's pro Mamdani.
Listen,
yeah, well, look, I mean,
there's a myth that all Jews are smart, and it's not true.
But the fact that a Jew says something stupid about Jews or Israel doesn't make it any less stupid. It's still stupid. The problem is they put their ideology ahead of their religion, their faith, and their culture. And their ideology becomes their religion, their faith, and their culture. The radical left in the Jewish community, they're lost.
Well, you've heard of Stockholm Syndrome. A lot of us understand Stockholm Syndrome. There's actually two parts to it. Everyone knows the first part, which is you're a hostage and you start to identify with your hostage, with your captor. But actually, the more common form of Stockholm Syndrome is that the hostages turn on each other. And I think that the Jewish people for 2,000 years have been suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. We very often, sadly, turn on each other because we've been victimized for so long. And every once in a while, you get somebody who sees the victimization of Jews by a Mamdani or by someone worse like a Khamenei and says, you know what? You were asking for it. That is a version of Stockholm Syndrome, by the way, and I think we've been suffering from it.
Hold on. I got some breaking news here. Hit it. You can't find a button. What's the matter with you? You can't find a button. I know it's early Sunday morning. No button.
The Jews did it.
Breaking news, WABC.
Okay. Secretary of War Hegseth has banned all military people from attending Princeton and Columbia and other elite universities because of their wokeness and weakness.
And that's actually a significant thing. Columbia's School of General Studies, since the beginning of the Gulf War, has had something called the Yellow Ribbon Program. This is a program at Columbia where they say whatever the GI Bill doesn't cover, we will forgive in your tuition. So in other words, veterans and people who are in the U.S. military basically go to Columbia University, if they're accepted, for free. And so for them to be told they can't go there anymore because there's so much anti-Americanism at Columbia and other schools, that's pretty significant because that Yellow Ribbon Program, as a Columbia alum myself, was one of the only things I was proud of about Columbia. And I guess that's going to be, in the garbage can now.
But still, I didn't have any of my Cypriot friends call me or text me on why, first of all, the Kissinger went along with Turkey on taking over and using NATO weapons to take over northern Cyprus, and why did Iran hit the northern Cyprus or southern Cyprus?
I'm going to check. This is according to the British.
I mean, they won't dare go against Erdogan.
Left here, Franco. Left here.
You're moving. You're going left, Todd Shapiro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Have you turned to be a leftist?
Oh my God! Now I'm really shocked.
But understand what's going to happen now. Now you're going to start getting all the protests in the city. It's going to turn into a mayhem. You're going to start getting, and it's also getting warmer out, so you can get more people coming out. Like it did during Gaza. You're going to start seeing people in the streets protesting. I'm sure that the new mayor is going to get his groupies to come out. And they're going to start coming out, condemning Israel and attacking Israel. It's going to be, an S show as we.
I want the Cypriots to come out, and I want them to picket the United Nations and picket Iran.
How about Turkey? Why do we keep excluding Turkey? Turkey's the next big threat that we have to the United States of America and to Western civilization. What this guy wants to be
talking about. Ed Cox, tell us about Turkey.
You
remember the
Assad is out and the people who are in. We're wondering about them. At the moment, President Trump is supporting them. But one thing is clear: they are backed by Turkey. Turkey made that,
that say it simply,
revolution possible.
No. You are a very smart guy. You have to say it's simple so everybody can understand it out there.
Yeah.
Are you saying that Turkey owns Syria?
Turkey has huge influence there because they supported the new rulers of Syria who kicked out Assad, just several months ago.
And who else? And they have a big influence in Northern Cyprus. They own Northern Cyprus, and nobody has the courage to say that you don't.
Well, I got an answer for you,
Call it
John.
an Ottoman complex.
Apparently, they were aimed at the British bases, which are very much on the southern coast of Cyprus. So you're right. They didn't want to mess with the northern part. Yeah.
Because Great Britain supported Trump.
Wow.
Maybe that's the reason.
Yes and no.
Wait, hold on. That's not. Wait a second.
One second.
Wait, hold on. This is very important. Are you saying
you have to raise your hand to go on?
That's right. Yeah, nobody can see Eric. Listen, are you saying that the English supported Trump in this excursion? I don't believe so. The most tepid, ridiculous statement in the world.
Well, what was the statement?
He made it really clear. We didn't have anything to do with this.
Right, that's your first statement.
No, I thought the statement says that we're supporting the
just politically, not tactically. And they made a point of saying we didn't have anything tactically to do.
And you can't use our bases. And you can't use our bases.
Yeah, wishy-washy.
He said you can't use the bases?
Yes. Well, that was what was reported. But he made a point. We didn't have anything tactically to do with this.
And by the way, if any single British person goes against that statement, they go to jail, right?
Yeah, on X. If they post on X, they're going to jail. Yeah.
In other words, there's no freedom of speech in the UK?
Eric.
That's why the F-22s were supposed to take off from the UK. But Starmer wouldn't let us use the base. So that's why we had to first fly them to Israel. That's why we had to first fly them to Israel so we could use the F-22s. But in terms, to Ed's point about Turkey and Syria, you're going to see a divided Syria. Turkey's going to be controlling certainly the north of it. The Israelis have made very clear there are to be absolutely no military assets south of Baghdad. The Israelis are going to be controlling southern Syria. The Israelis are going to be protecting the Syrian minority communities, the Alawites, the Kurds, the Druze. So that's going to be a divided country. It's going to be interesting to see if Syria can hold together. But to Richard's point, he's 100% right. Once we're done with Iran, the country we're going to have to turn our attention to in terms of supporting the Muslim Brotherhood and undermining Western civilization is going to be Turkey. We have to be careful we don't substitute a Shiite international terrorist axis led by Iran to a Sunni-led international terrorist axis led by Turkey.
Hey,
so
let me ask, you guys are sophisticated pro-Semites, and what Turkey? What are they? Are they still a NATO nation?
They are still NATO.
And should they?
Does does any NATO country trust them?
No, and we won't let them have a lot of the sophisticated technology connected to the F-35.
And just because they're friends with Putin?
No, because they're the anti-aircraft stuff. They came from Russia, and we do not want it to be able to take down an F-35.
I mean, even though who's the president? Erdogan. Erdogan says, "Trust me."
I trust him.
Yeah, as far as we can throw him.
Right, exactly. Look, he is the next major threat, and with this gap, this vacuum after Iran is taken care of, we better pay attention to Turkey because he has the same hegemonic ambitions as the Iranians did.
This is a special edition of the Cats Roundtable. It is live. We're getting a live, and we're going to be right back with Brian Kilmeade, who'll be joining the Cats Roundtable. Again, you're listening to Talk Radio.
He's working Sunday morning, too?
He's working, too. He woke up. The other guys didn't. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg, Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia, and essayist and commentator Eric Levine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, we are back. And, I don't think we have enough fire yet. I mean,
everything's so quiet here in the studio. Yeah,
and nobody has an opinion.
By the way,
have you noticed no one has an opinion?
Todd Shapiro, how far left did he go? Did he fall off the call?
I think he went into the Hudson River.
In Hudson?
No, I'm right here.
All right.
We thought he was in witness protection.
And we have a special guest. He is the hardest working person at Fox. I think he works 18 hours a day. I think he's always there. And he's also every day, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock on WABC. And, Brian Kilmeade, what the heck is going on? Why did Iran attack poor little Cyprus? And if they attacked anybody, they should attack the northern part of Cyprus where Turkey is.
Well, I mean, obviously, they're really making things worse for themselves when they go after these Arab nations, these Sunni Arab nations. They were going to stay out of it. They told us, don't use our bases, America. If you're going to attack, don't use our bases. We don't want to be a part of that. And what did they do? We didn't use their bases. We attacked Iran, chopped off 40 of their high-ranking officials, including the Ayatollah, and they hit back on the Arab nations. Thankfully, they haven't even gone for our aircraft carriers. And what they've done is got these Sunni nations angry at Iran. And I would not doubt that at some point that the Iranians are going to get hit by UAE, by Saudi Arabia, by Bahrain on their own, with their own military, because they've alienated them, which is a dumb move, but it shows desperation, a lack of organization. And when you mention Cyprus, that also shows their targeting. I mean, these guys are totally discombobulated. They're not even sure what hit them and who's still alive.
Well,
there's no question they made a tactical error in attacking the Arab states, who, as Brian correctly points out, wanted to kind of stay out of this. But the idea that Saudi Arabia or the UAE, they're going to get involved militarily, I think that's highly unlikely. I think they're militarily useless. But the political cover that they're giving us is terrific. It's really important. I thought the MBS statement was great. So what you have is the Arabs. It's not just that they've aligned themselves with the United States. They've aligned themselves with the United States and Israel.
Mm. And Brian Kilmeade, besides that, I got a bunch of tweets yesterday from a lot of my Democratic friends that they all want to go back to Washington and stop President Trump from demolishing the Ayatollah. I said, are you in the, and I had to repeat, I had to put in a comment in. Is the Democratic Party on the Ayatollah side?
Yes. And it's only because, I mean, they can't think about tomorrow. Everything Trump does, they do the opposite. And now they look at this guy that has been at war with Democratic presidents. You ask Bill Clinton, you ask Barack Obama, you ask Joe Biden. What is Iran? Why are they in the top of your hit list every day on your security briefing? Why are they always, there's always an issue, whether they're trying to negotiate or trying to figure out why they're taking our people or they're fueling militias that are killing our people. Now all of a sudden Donald Trump decides, I've had enough, we've tried everything, I'm the one to do it, and they got to jump on the other side. And they're just waiting for anything negative to happen in this incredible campaign. They're just waiting for it. I think they're so delusional. It's like being a drunk guy at the bar, and all you want to do is just flail away. You're not even thinking about who you're trying to hit. And for Tim Kaine and people and like Senator Mark Warner, who have been there getting high-level briefing for decades, for them to pretend as if this wasn't a brilliant move and a necessary move that other presidents shouldn't have done, shows they are flat out lying for pure politics. And I ask you, why are they in those jobs? They're in those jobs to make an impact. No, those guys are doing those jobs just to get Democrats elected and try to squeeze out Donald Trump and make sure he doesn't have a successful presidency when their goal should be making the country better. And these guys that have been there, they know what Iran is. They know what they've done constantly to undermine us. And Israel really would not have many enemies if it wasn't for what Iran's been doing. And that's a very anti-Israel party right now.
Brian Kilmeade, this is Jake Novak. Go ahead. I just had one quick question. Speaking of that, Brian, what do you make of this absolutely extraordinary report in the Washington Post that says that it was Saudi Arabia Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, who was actually making the phone calls to the White House the last several weeks, urging this attack. I mean, that is very interesting. I wonder what you make of it, because, again, it seems like Iran has proven Saudi Arabia right, because all they've done is attack other Arab countries and Israel. They haven't attacked the U.S. military.
It shows you there's a public persona and there's a real persona. You know, the first time we saw this, guys, do you remember when they, not Snowden, but the cross-dresser that changed sexes leaked all that material?
Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning. So she leaks all that material. Do you know what it said? It showed these emails over to Hillary Clinton for us to hit Iran. It shows how Saudi Arabia and Iran hated each other's guts, and how Hillary Clinton has to get America to act back on their behalf. And it revealed the rivalry between these two nations, but publicly they would make us the problem. They make America the heretics. They make America the outsiders. But in reality, they were leaning on us. And that was prior to MBS taking power. Now you got this modernized leader. Yes, he's royalty and they have horrific ways of punishing crime. But they are now thinking about their economies first. The UAE, their economies first. Qatar, their economies first. They're building up trust through economic ties, and they like Trump. So they would never have done this and counted on us and trusted us under Joe Biden and Barack Obama, who could not make up their minds. They were pro-Iran. They were trying to get that JCPOA passed. Saudi Arabia is like, are you kidding me? How can you trust Iran? And look, I know Saudi Arabia's got its issues, but you have to recognize how far they've come. And they are not a military threat. They have taken hold of the terror cells within their country. The bin Ladens and the extremists, that's not even taught in schools anymore. So they have turned the page. And it shows you what Trump is doing. And it also should curtail these complaints from Democrats, because they have to understand in the region, when they're coming now against Trump, if they are ever to get back in power, these Sunni nations are noting this. And they're saying, when Trump's gone, maybe we go back to that negative relationship with America again.
Now, let me ask you, has Saudi Arabia, one second, guys, I'm the commander, the show's called Cats and, is all the Arab nations unified with Saudi Arabia at this point, on what's going on?
I think so. I mean, it doesn't mean they don't have elements, Shia extremists amongst them. For example, our Iraqi consulate's getting hit. That, in a way, that just allows us to take the gloves off, because Iraq's been thoroughly infiltrated by Iranian militias and a lot of Iranian leaders. And now this gives Iraq the chance to get rid of that yoke. And I think we're going to start hitting them. Doesn't mean in Pakistan our consulate wasn't attacked by pro-Shia extremists. So we have elements, but I don't think governments. I can't think of a government outside Turkey that felt as though they could have good relationship with Iran. Qatar did it for survival, but because they don't have much of an army and they can't afford to alienate any side, but they can actually pay for their security, and that's what they do with us. That's what they do with Saudi Arabia, and they've had good relationship with Iran. But as far as a power, I think it's just Turkey. And notice, not a word from it, Russia. China's offered condemnation for the attacks, but that's lip service. This is. I know there's going to be some dicey days and hours. Give us.
We have a few more minutes for this segment. Give us your pulse on whether it's the Muslim community, the Arab community. Who is going to be with the Khomeini gone? Is Erdogan seeking to be the big head honcho, or is it going to be Saudi Arabia? How do you see things?
I don't really see Turkey, like we know Iran and Saudi Arabia are adversaries, but I don't see Turkey as necessarily an adversary to anybody in the region. They're not really friendly to the West. There's distrust there. But I think that Erdogan is more focused on Syria, their border, and they're happy with what's transpired there. Of course, the Middle East is always be tumultuous, but I really believe that there's so much upside to this operation. And in the end, this is going to be one of the great things that Donald Trump has accomplished, and to see this idiotic mayor come out with a statement in support of the Khomeini against our action and for, he thinks, the Iranian community in America. So you're welcome here? You idiot. Most of the Iranians are here because they're not welcome there. The Ayatollah is hated by almost all American Iranians. So he's just clueless. And I just conclude with Democrats should just understand there are certain things that Donald Trump does that you can agree with. And this is one of them.
Now, one more question, Brian Kilmeade, before we go off, before we have to take a break. The situation going on, President Trump has supported President Clinton. President Clinton has supported President Trump. That this stuff going on with the nonsense of each party going against the previous presidents over nonsense versus, hey, if it's treason, you should go after a president. But over nonsense, going after presidents, how do you feel about it?
Well, Donald Trump's been very direct about his criticisms of other presidents, so I understand that.
Biden is a separate situation. We got to find out someday who was really running the Biden White House.
Right. I feel much more comfortable, and I think it's great for our country when our presidents don't criticize each other. I really do. George W. Bush has done a brilliant job at that. Either way, I don't think Donald Trump is benefits by keep bringing up Joe Biden every day. And Barack Obama, and Obama's been weighing in more and more, and that doesn't help either. So I would love to stand down and show the more Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush relationship. I think it's better for the country. They became great friends. Ford and Carter became great friends, and they had a bitter election. So I'm much more comfortable with that. And George W. Bush and Bill Clinton are great friends.
I agree. I agree 110%. Thank you. And you know what we're going to do? I just saw on my computer that Bill Clinton made a statement yesterday about his testimony. I guess if he made it, everybody who's listening, tune in at 7:02 after our break, and we're going to play Bill Clinton's statement. And Brian Kilmeade, thank you 110%.
Thanks, guys. Thanks to all of you. Talk to you soon.
God bless. And during the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to have Rabbi Potashnik, another show.
We're taking over.
We're taking over completely.
We're going to give you a bar mitzvah.
And I'm wondering if A.R. Bernard is going to call in. and how about Cardinal Dolan? He's good friends with the rabbi. Oh, we have to take a break? You tell me. You're the holder of the clock.
We are. You're listening to a special. We're working. If the American military is serving us, we got to be working live here on WABC. This is a live edition of Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to Let the Record Show with Judge Weinberg, Chairman Jesse Garcia, and Eric Levine. You can hear Let the Record Show Sunday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.